seeing the screen do this little fizzle thing or whatever. And I thought that's why. Never mind. It's just technical stuff or whatever. And those are not gunshots. Those are fireworks. I ain't endangered, motherfucker. Let me lift this up here so you guys can see me. So what's going on, everybody? Let me talk to y'all real quick about Marc Lamont Hill. Many of y'all may know him or may not know him. Y'all definitely know Judge Joe Brown from fame. You know what I mean? Judge Joe Brown, salute to you. But it's a funny shit going on, man. It's a real funny shit going on. And people keep on trying to ignore it. And more people keep trying to ignore it. But I'm telling you, that's some real shit going on with this whole Bill Cosby thing, man. And I'm disturbed by it, to be quite frank with you. I mean, I think there's a lot of things going on. That's why I had to do it like that, because I'm like, where do I start? You know what I mean? Where do I start when I'm talking about this whole Bill Cosby debacle? And where do I start and stop? You know, and it's hard to decide because Bill Cosby, outside the fact of being an iconic figure, Bill Cosby is someone that we thought up until a couple of days ago probably would die in jail. And I keep emphasizing that point over and over and over and over again, that a lot of people thought that Bill Cosby was going to die in jail. There's no doubt about it, all right? Like, let's not pretend. A lot of us thought that Bill Cosby was going to die in jail. And he has now become the topic of conversation off of many motherfuckers' lips that normally wouldn't talk about Bill Cosby. Wasn't talking about Bill Cosby prior to him getting released. Wasn't concerned what happened to Bill Cosby, how was his health. You know what I'm saying? That he had a Jello pudding motherfucking pop or some Jello. You know what I'm saying? I had to take one shot. You know, nobody asked him nothing. You know, nothing about Bill Cosby. So now it's a topic of discussion, and that discussion brought Marc Lamont Hill and that little bullshit ass BNC network. And I'm gonna tell y'all why y'all should watch out for these motherfuckers. All right? Oh, believe you me, watch out for these motherfuckers. This BNC network, I'm gonna give you a little discography about them real quick that I know so far. I just saw them pop up out of nowhere. I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I just saw them pop up out of nowhere here on YouTube. And when I saw this BNC network pop up, I was already kind of fret because I was like, you know, it sound BET to me. BNC. It sound like BET. BNC, BET, you know. But a lot of people find it hard to duplicate what that man did. He started out versus when acquisition took hold, took stir forth, you know. And that's unfortunate, but he now owns I think it's North Carolina Panthers team or something like that. So he's doing good. It's North Carolina, South Carolina guys, one of the two. This BNC network that I saw, and I saw them via YouTube, I want to tell you that. So I know they existed as far as a real entity, and I'm not sure exactly who they're attached to as far as distribution of their network, but I know they're a real entity as well, or at least aspirations of becoming one, at the very least. This BNC network, they kind of disturb me because a lot of their material and editorial features kind of mimic a lot of different things to me. You know, for one, on one end, they mimic BET. Then in another edge point, if you're looking at it from a aesthetic point of view, it's kind of a cross between CBS Evening News and another cross between CNN, if that makes sense, you know, aesthetically and visually. And I'm just like, when I saw some of the editorials they did, and excuse me, I want you guys, I'm a guy, I told you guys, I want you guys to go check it for yourself, right? And when you see it for yourself, you'll understand exactly what I mean, where this network, there's an agenda there. There's an obvious agenda. And I want to tell you, there was a female actual reporter that I had started watching beforehand. Before all this started, there was a female reporter I was watching. And that female reporter, she was very stiff, very prude looking. You know, yes, there are prudes that exist in the culture here. She's very prude looking, and very perturbed, and looked like someone that had made it to Yale but didn't get the Yale job. if that makes sense. I made it to Yale, but I didn't get the Yale job, you know. So this is it. This is it. She made it to where she was, and I appreciate where she is. But that, then when they started showing Marc Lamont Hill on this BNC network, it made me raise an eyebrow. Because Marc Lamont Hill has been in a lot of different publications, you understand? A lot of different publications. I remember him interviewing artists, music artists. Marc Lamont Hill got into arguments with them. A few of them. And it's unfortunate because Marc Lamont Hill has been the type of, I don't know if you want to say journalist, because I don't even consider him a real fucking journalist. You know, Joe Budden's more of a journalist than this guy is. But it still compels me that every time that he's in front of one of these formats, he chooses his attacking point as someone of color. And today, in this particular interview that I saw, he chose Judge Joe Brown. Now, I think there was some prior friction there. That's what I really think. I think there was some prior friction there. I think that initially these guys, they didn't like each other, okay? Everything hinted to me that they did not like each other. Y'all excuse me, I'm trying to adjust this thing here. I don't think they liked each other from the get-go. And I think at some point in time in that conversation, Judge Joe Brown was looking for him to attack. Because Judge Joe Brown, I know him from watching the show for years like everybody else. But I also know him from being on Dana's show. And that's when I saw, and that's Dana with the Data, or the real Dana. You know what I'm saying? Go check her out. I've been rocking with Dana since she was in Inception on the Star Report. You know what I'm saying? She's come a long way. Jersey girl. She's a fucking loudmouth. We've gone at it. I've said shit to her, but at the end of the day, before Judge Joe Brown was on there, I was liking and sharing and watching her full show. So shout out to Dana with the Data, because that's why I go check out Judge Joe Brown now. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Jersey. You know, salute to you. I ain't from Jersey. You know what I'm saying? Everybody think I'm from Jersey. I'm not from fucking Jersey. But shout out to Jersey. Judge Joe Brown went on that show with the immediate effect that he knew that some BS was going to happen sooner or later, I'm telling you. And as a result of that, it was weird to me because, like, check this out. It was weird to me because when I started watching this, really started watching this, and I started seeing, like, the little, like, Marc Lamont Hill looked in the whole entire interview like he was just ready at any given moment to, you know, unleash on Judge Joe Brown, you know? And it was fucking me up because I was like, why are you trying to attack Judge Joe Brown for? You know what I mean? But I saw it in his face. So at one point when they get into the interview, and they're in the interview and they're talking about, Judge Joe Brown goes into talking about his father. So when Judge Joe Brown speaks about his father, give me 1 second, guys. I got an ambulance going by. I don't want y'all to miss anything. And I think it's coming this way. Nope, but it went past it. Close enough. It was the point where Judge Joe Brown started talking about his father. And when he was talking about his father, one of the funny things is Marc Lamont Hill picked that exact moment right there to interrupt him. And Judge Joe Brown, if many of y'all know him, have seen him in other interviews, he just kept fucking going. As he should. Salute. This began another war of the unaccomplished trying to challenge the accomplished. See, Marc Lamont Hill failed to realize one thing before he started this whole tirade and started trying to go on. Listen, boy, in Judge Joe Brown voice, fate. You're here to interview. You're not the one being interviewed. And I've seen a lot of journalists do this. They get it from different journalist styles themselves, but they'll try to make the interview that's about somebody else their interview. If you don't know what I mean, this is the same thing that happened with Martin Bashir. I think that's how you pronounce his name, Martin Bashir, when he interviewed Michael Jackson. He tried to make it into his interview, you know? Marc Lamont Hill attempted to do the same thing here. He tried to make it his interview. And what I mean by that is he started initiating these questions based on a morality base about Bill Cosby versus the legality when it comes to what happened to Bill Cosby, okay? The morality issue versus the legality issues, okay? And I don't know the full deposition. I've never read it. I've never watched it. I've never seen it read. I heard it read, excuse me. But what I can tell you is this. That courtroom played him a disservice. And what Lamont Hill attempted to do on that interview was defend feminism, or what his brand of defending feminism he thought was. By saying that this man is wrong for a sexual assault, he did a sexual assault, I'm speaking against it, blah, 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 blah. And this is like the position that a lot of people are taking with this Bill Cosby thing. They're taking it from a feminist standpoint, not from a legality standpoint. And what Judge Joe Brown was pointing out to him was, in a legality standpoint, that man is free to go. That man has not been convicted of a law under any law, so therefore the thought of public opinion does not bear weight here. And he was correct. The crowd of popular opinion doesn't hold correct, which is the same thing with the cancel culture thing. Now, what was reminiscent, I'm going to tell you more about this interview, but I want to say this. What was more intel to me was the fact of the similarities of how they did the same smear campaign at O.J. Simpson this years ago, okay? And we all know that all that stress and everything else finally led O.J. back to jail. And to this day, people will talk shit about O.J., but want to interview O.J. Follow O.J. on Twitter. O.J. got real followers on Twitter. Factory, I swear to God. So, the same similarities are there when you had black stars. They would throw him in jokes, they would berate him, or whatever. All for the opportunity of being seen or heard off the name of somebody that actually has some accomplishments. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that OJ is guilty or innocent or whatever. That's a code of morality. That code of morality is held in the church. That's why at one point in this country and in England, they had no such thing as separate church and state. Okay? Anybody went to college, you call yourself educated, you should know that. There was no such thing as separate church and state. It wasn't until after this church decided in England to form a union for the courts. And that's when separate church and state came into play. And at that point, there was only one main element that they felt, it was actually used to be two, but they felt ultimately, and here in the United States, there was only one main element because it was built on a Christian-based system in their interpretation. So it was based on a Christian-based theory. And if you don't believe me, this is why they had churches, and the slaves had to go to church on Sunday, even in the ownership of Massa. And Massa would preach to them that it was his God-given right to have them, and God had given them to him. If you don't believe me, do some deeper research. Church plays a big part in this shit I'm talking about right now. Those thinking patterns have been passed on to blacks over and over and over and over again. But I think this indoctrination of this new form religion thinking, which existed and came about one time again, and in the 80s, and prior to that, and in the 1960s. So we see that it has this transition point of every 20 years. I'm telling you guys, and I'm telling you for a fact, there's something going on with men that are black attacking other black men. And the only thing it's about is status or the perception of it. But they don't want to embattle themselves in stature. And this goes for Latin men too, and just brown men in general. They don't want to compete against the people they really, in their heart of hearts, want to compete against, and that's whites. I do it all the time. Anybody that knows me knows that. There's some people will tell me, yo, chill the fuck out, man. Chill out for what? Fuck you. I've told white folks to that, fuck you. Huh? For what? I grew up around you. I know how you are. Some white guys are the biggest shit starters you ever meet in your life. Biggest shit starters, especially if there's a group of them. And there's like one or two of you, they'll think you can take you. Or whatever the case may be. But I find when they by themselves, they're pussycats. You know? So you gotta figure that out. All right. On this interview, Marc Lamont Hill continued to press the question of whether or not Bill Cosby, by morality, which I just explained, morality doesn't count in a societal sense. Your morality is your own personal belief system. The court of law is a set of rules that have already been preordained and put in place over rulership of this country. And now those laws and statutes are dictated and how they're adjudicated if need be so. That's the way the United States of America works. Okay? Paraphrasing here and there, but basically. This new form of religion of thinking, like I said, that's been here in the 60s, it's been here in the 80s. I wasn't old enough to participate in either one, and in one form I wasn't even born, it was just the 60s. But what I do know is this form of thinking has been here before. Back then it was with Quaaludes and LSD and all that shit. Then it came again around with mushrooms and all that shit in the 80s, and then in the 2000s it came around with, you know, the lean and what else was it, dust and all that shit. And then here we are in 2021, it's coming around with fentanyl and all. These are all attributing factors that the local college kid does. I know, because I went to college and a whole bunch of motherfuckers did drugs we didn't do. Believe you that. I saw all kinds of drugs being done in my motherfucking housing. I can talk about that shit too. My housing was in Queens, in Kew Gardens in Queens. And I saw so many people in my housing doing drugs, black, white, Puerto Rican, Indian, Asian, you name it. That I would never do. I ain't sniffing no coke. Fuck that. You can have that shit. You have all of it. If it ain't about some green, I ain't gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? Ain't gonna be able to do it. Mark Lamont Hill act like he was on some coke or something. The way he was trying to adjudicate motherfucking Judge Joe Brown on that BNC bullshit network news. I don't like that BNC network shit. And if y'all see it, keep your eye open for it. And y'all gonna see exactly what I'm talking about. Them motherfuckers have a message. And I found out that the main backer is actually an Arab guy of the network. You heard me? The actual guy that is the main backer of that BNC, that Black News channel, whatever the fuck that bullshit is, the guy that actually is backing it the most is an Arab guy. And they tried to seek financing from several people that were black, that were well equipped to afford it, including Puff. Puff can't afford that bullshit. I think it already got a network, Revolt. So yeah, he said probably y'all show me y'all can get some numbers. Show me y'all can get some numbers. Show me y'all should get some consistent numbers and come back to me in about a year or two. We'll do something. We'll do a segue or something. You know, we'll work it out. Don't worry about it, Playboy. You know what I mean? That BNC network is bullshit. And it's poison. Poison early. It's there to feed you a liberal tribe of daily doses of, this is the new wave and age morality set. They're trying to bypass the 10 Commandments. They're trying to bypass the deadly sins. They're trying to bypass everything they possibly can. They're trying to make excuses and want you to be empathetic digitally to the motherfucking causes that they present to you digitally. Mark Lamont Hill's presentation was this: how do we decry, how do we deface Bill Cosby as a man of color, but yet still I am a man of color at the behest, evidently, of an Arab man that owns their channel, or the largest backer of many different backers. When you deal with people like Mark Lamont Hill, you have to know early on, these are niggas. Now, there's nothing wrong with saying that these are niggas. He's a nigga. He's a well-dressed, articulated nigga. And there's a difference between a nigga and a black man. There's a difference between a spick and a Latino. There's a difference between poor white trash and a white man. Hell, even a white man will tell you that. A real white man will tell you that. I ain't no poor white trash. Mark Lamont Hill disrespected Judge Joe Brown. Marc Lamont Hill wanted to pull that whole ambush journalism bullshit that he went so far as to talk about a tweet that was responded to by Judge Joe Brown the earlier night. And in fact, it was Marc Lamont Hill's fucking tweet. And he thought he was throwing some shock value with Judge Joe Brown. I said, you motherfucker. That's what I said as soon as I said, you motherfucker. You motherfucker. Not only are you on here trying to piggyback off the back of one man's back, but you're trying to piggyback off Judge Joe Brown by insulting him by throwing up your own personal tweet. You call this professional journalism? This ain't nothing but a bunch of articulated Twitter motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Motherfucker that copies and pastes some shit off Google or tries to say some shit to make themselves sound smart that they could type, but they couldn't say and they couldn't articulate with their own fucking voice in the octave. Those type of motherfuckers. I can't stand these new smart motherfuckers. You know what I'm talking about when I say new smart? That's what Marc Lamont Hill is. He is a transcender of whatever movement is going on right now. And that's how he keeps his relevancy, if you want to call it. Hey, Marc Lamont Hill. Hey, girl. Hey, girl. He put his own personal tweet that Judge Joe Brown responded to on the teleprompter in the reference to try to get some type of shock value from Judge Joe Brown. And I said to myself, I said, oh, this is a ho-ho nigga. Oh, you a thought. That's how Davis say it. You a thought. He went full ho. Somebody get that boy some press-on nails and get him a pair of heels and put him to work. Oh, bitch-ass motherfucker. Marc Lamont Hill attempted to challenge Judge Joe Brown on that little BNC network. And don't sit here and tell me, Marc Lamont Hill, you ain't know you had that tweet from the other night. That's why you want him on the motherfucking show. You need to get that little bullshit starter kit network no motherfucking ratings. Oh, I know. I was there when Revolt TV was a fucking idea and a rumor. Tell me something different. I dare somebody to write in the comment section something fucking different than that. I was there when that network was an idea. I know a network launch when I see one. And the reason you cheap motherfuckers is doing it off motherfucking YouTube because it's free. Let's not forget the real implements of having your own network is having your own satellite. Ask Elon Musk. Ask any other person like the owner of Virgin. Ask many other people. The key to owning your own network starts with you owning your own satellite. Other than that, you just bouncing your signal off of another satellite. That's why you need a distributor like AT&T and Revolt TV. Time Warner, including the launch of Revolt TV, was held in the Time Warner building in Manhattan by 59th Street. But on top of that, Time Warner was a distributor. That's why it was held there. They did a press release for the network. They launched the network. They did a celebration afterwards at the Time Warner building in Manhattan by 59th Columbus Square. Anybody know who I'm talking about? Know what I'm talking about. There was no launch for this network. It kind of just popped up on YouTube. And I tried to do some investigation. Like I said, this network is backed, in fact, by an Arab gentleman with all black faces. There's definitely a liberal tone there. And that's why I said, and now I understand why Puff said that shit. We need to start our own party. But Puff was hoping that somebody else would motherfucking pick onto that shit. Puff, I don't want to have nothing to do with that shit right there. I don't want to have nothing to do with that shit. I like to find a motherfucker that does and navigate him towards people that want to back him. But me personally, I have no presidential they said presidential ambitions. You know what I mean? To that degree. Not with that shit. Y'all want me in a position of power like that. Mr. President, they're acting up again. Bomb them. Mr. President, we got a siege over in this building. Shoot them. Shit, I'll put an end to crime real quick. You know what I mean? Shots. Mr. President, there's a mass shooting going on. Bring that motherfucker out in the front. Don't kill him, catch him. And bring him in the parking lot and shoot him in front of the cameras. See how many clicks that shit get. Shooting children and 20-year-old girls is working in grocery stores and shit. See, I live in New England. New England, let me tell y'all a little secret real quick, and I'm going to get back into Marc, Lamont Hill. New England, and this till recently, they had one that was in Litchfield County, I believe it was. One of the towns out there in Litchfield. And one locally here around, I think right outside of Norwalk, or one of the little towns out there. I don't know. I don't go out to them towns like Shelton and all that shit. I got a friend that live in Shelton, and where I used to live at, adjacent to me on Fifth Avenue, there was Fifth Avenue Presbyterian Church there, and Reverend Seamus and his family are actually from Shelton, Connecticut. So I know a little bit about that Litchfield County area, but not a rampant visitor there, if you want to say. I don't think too many people do unless you live out there, got family there. Well, unbeknownst to it, the reason I speak about Connecticut in that tone is because there is, how can I say it, guys? There's some type of a vibe, and I don't know exactly what it is, but it goes into when you get African Americans that get in poignant positions. And I know this from being in a poignant position myself, and not wanting to be outwardly to speak their ideas. Instead, they want to become assimilist and conformist. And the assimilist and conformist that they become, and the more in depth they get embedded into it, you start seeing the extremes of it. And that's what you see with Marc Lamont Hill. Marc Lamont Hill was desperate. I don't believe that, but he was desperate. Marc Lamont Hill's been fired from several different publications. Now you're over there at the YouTube startup that's completely free. And like I said, you don't own the network unless you got a satellite. Everybody else, you need a distributor. Everybody else, you need a distributor. Revolt TV ended up getting acquisition by AT&T, and now AT&T is a distributor for Revolt TV. This network has no distributor. This has a financial backup, probably for the cameras, suits, and everything else that these motherfuckers is wearing, and probably some type of salary as far as like paying them. Yes, there are YouTube personalities that get paid to put up daily publications, and they collect money via donations. I don't know why y'all don't get this, but they do. What was that guy's name that used to be on here? They took him off of YouTube, and it messed up a lot of his money. What was this guy's name? With the secret space shit. I forgot what his name was. He was the one that went to, God, what is his name? His name will come to me in a second here. But they took him off of YouTube. They took Louis Farrakhan off of YouTube, but I don't want to throw him in that fray. I'm talking about the people that actually have paid. They paid Young Turks, I think, are some of those guys. They actually paid the people that are there. Vice is another one of them. A couple of them are YouTube startups, but they're actual funneling and operating, you know, saying publications or portions of that publication anyway. And they shoot footage daily to compile and make it into documentaries or whatever. And they do treatments and everything, just like a regular publication would do, but they're doing it via YouTube, you know? I don't know how to explain this because it gets kind of confusing. But when you get people like Marc Lamont Hill attacking people of prominence like a Judge Joe Brown or anybody of his caliber. And the man is clearly dictating the law to you as it stands in the United States of America, as it's dictated in the United States of America, and you're still not listening, then you have some type of mental problem. You have some type of problem with narcissism. You have some type of problem with trying to convey to the public something that is not. What you're trying to convince the public is that Bill Cosby is a guilty man under public and court opinion. That is no different than at one time in this country when they had people with pitchforks, well, in England, had people with pitchforks at your door because they thought, we're in Salem, Massachusetts, let's say that. Pitchforks at your door thinking you were a witch or a warlock or a vampire or something, you know. Judged by the community, not by rules and laws. And sometimes even judged by the community, as you saw with beheadings and everything like that. Which brought me back to what I was originally saying. Here in Connecticut, in Litchfield County and some of those areas, they had whipping posts. Yes, whipping posts. I swear to God to you. And they would put you inside these things, whether you be black, white, whatever. And they would whip you for public spectacle. And they would whip you for public spectacle because they felt that it was somehow or another embarrassment, public embarrassment. That's the same equation you have right now with how the internet is being utilized. It's the same thing as you had here in Connecticut. And if you don't believe me, I'll share a link for it in the community section, or maybe throw it in here, or you can look it up yourself. But they just removed one of them because people had so much of an outcry because they wanted to see it gone here in the state of Connecticut, but they were all throughout the state of Connecticut. And being that we have so many, like we have a couple counties, 4 counties, and a whole bunch of different municipalities within those counties. So you might be in, like right here, I live in Fairfield County, but there's some places that are way, way on the other side of where I'm at. And they're like smaller, they're quicker to get through. You get what I'm saying? They're just like little small towns really. But you're all part of this county. Well, some of the counties, they chose to get rid of those whipping posts, and some of those counties, they chose to keep them because they thought they were historical. Connecticut is very big on historical archives. The further you go north into Connecticut, into the west of the state, you will see more of that implemented. You know, I don't know if y'all know this, but Benedict Arnold is from Norwich, Connecticut. Benedict Arnold, he's from Norwich, Connecticut. The woman that you see as the press secretary right now for the White House, Jen Psaki, she's from right here in this town. She's from Stamford, Connecticut. Jen Psaki, that's her name. She's the White House press secretary. Very thin woman, youngish. I think she's like in her 30s, maybe early 40s, maybe. But yeah, Jen Psaki is from right here in Stamford, Connecticut. So is Candace Owens, and so is Martha Stewart. Lisa Lampanelli is from Bridgeport. She's from this county, which is Fairfield. I'm trying to think who was. Eric LaSalle was from Bridgeport as well. That's the one that played in ER. Eric LaSalle, he's from Bridgeport as well. I'm trying to think who else. Mike Tyson had his house here. 50 Cent bought it. 50 Cent sold it. Now it's a convalescent home, or soon to be a convalescent home. Retirement home. That's how big that fucking house is. A retirement home. It was costing 50 Cent $12,000 a month to keep up the maintenance on that house. That's how big that house is. $12,000 a month to keep up on the upkeep of that house. $12,000. There's a lot of notable people here from Connecticut. Martha Stewart, I mentioned. David, what's his name? John Myers, guitar player. Some of y'all may remember him from that skit, making people dance, black people dance or whatever. What makes black people dance on Dave Chappelle. The guy that was playing the guitar, he's from, I think he's from Bridgeport area or Black Rock or either Fairfield. No, I think he's from Fairfield, Connecticut. Then there's a white rapper kid from Fairfield, Connecticut. There's a lot of people from Connecticut that are within the tri-state paradigm of entertainment and shit like that. But back to Mark Lamont Hill. He tried to do a public lynching of him. And the reason I use those whipping posts as an example is because of the pure simple fact that, I mean, that's basically what he's trying to do. You're trying to put Bill Cosby, and you're trying to use Judge Joe Brown and put him on spotlight too, by posting that tweet, too, by sitting there and just acting like you were innocent and didn't know what the fuck was going on during the whole interview. Like, but I'm so innocent. Like, it was real punkish. You know what I mean? And I just don't respect Mark Lamont Hill for that shit. And I never look at him the same. As far as that BNC network bullshit, though, well, I wrote a couple comments over there. Had a couple people respond. I said, yeah, they're exactly what I thought they were. Exactly what I thought they were. Bunch of motherfuckers. Exactly what I thought they were. A bunch of motherfuckers. So I'm telling you, that BNC network, watch pop-ups like that, because a lot of times when you see those pop-ups and they come via YouTube, the thing that'll happen is you'll find out that very quickly they might have some type of ulterior motive. And that's what I think with this BNC network. And I think it's going to come out even more and more as time progresses and goes on, where people are going to start to see that for themselves. This is a very liberal channel. They have a very liberal projection of their value system on full display for you via their material that they upload. I think a demonstration of that was this Judge Joe Brown and Marc Lamont Hill interview, how they actually tried to gain views off the clip itself, because they could have chose not to post this because it was in a negative light, or they could have edited it better. The whole interview, I want to tell y'all, it's not like a 5 or 10 minute clip even. It's an 18-minute interview, which I watch every bit of it. And the argument itself it goes in hard into its extremes until the end. And at the end of it, when he starts, in my opinion, trying to berate Judge Joe Brown by saying little sarcastic innuendos and, a little shit like that, little pump motherfucker shit, as I call it. I call that pump motherfucker shit. Meaning that you wouldn't meet me at any other type of challenge spot except for the one that you consider the one that's a highlight for you. Meaning that if I put the terms in my motherfucking hand and I said, yo, this is the terms that we're using. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't agree to those because you're scared. And that's what I see out of Marc Lamont Hill. I see a scared ass little boy. And he was challenged by Judge Joe Brown. And not only was he challenged by Judge Joe Brown, he knew before he even got into the motherfucking interview set exactly how to act. And that's exactly what he did. He acted like an actor and used that platform, that BNC bullshit network, to do so. As he has done before with many different music artists. When you was on, what was he on then? I think it was NPR. And he used to interview music artists. They had him interviewing music artists. And he got into it with a little bit of a couple of people where they didn't see head to head with him, or they either had something to say about him afterwards or whatever. And Marc Lamont Hill's like, listen, you got to have certain features. First of all, it don't matter how polite you talk, right? I'm going to keep a buck with you guys. It don't matter how polite you talk. It don't matter how, whatever. It really boils down to your physical features. It really does. And I hate to say this, but when you're interacting with certain crowds, your physical features are going to stand out more so than the color of your skin. And it's fucked up to think that, but it's the truth. And some people, they gain, because of where they're trying to have their ambitions lie, some people gain a kind of complex with that. You know what I mean? And I'll give you a perfect example. The Asian community, I've heard them reiterate this several times. Because since I did that one pop-up cast, I decided to say, okay, let me go investigate a little bit more. I have cousins that are half Korean, Penny and Ronald. And they're my great uncle's children. You know what I'm saying? And he was married to their wife, Oki. You know what I'm saying? So it was like they always been around us. You know what I mean? But they act like us. They grew up around us. They act like us. They don't act like the typical Korean kid, if you want to say. And Koreans are cool as fuck, because always when I link with Asians, it always happens to be somebody that's Korean or Vietnamese. I've never linked with nobody Chinese like that. I've never linked with nobody. Oh yeah, and Laotians and Cambodians. I rock with them heavy too. And I don't know. I think they're considered South Pacific Islanders, so I'm not sure. I still put them in that fray because, you know what I mean. But I started understanding more so how their physical features are a challenge within themselves because of the presumptionness that comes with it. And sometimes they'll go get surgeries and stuff like that to, even out their eyelids or whatever the case may be or whatever, and to look more American or look more Western or European in some cases, depending on where they live. Chinese people just don't, or Asian people just don't live in America. They live abroad everywhere. Switzerland, Canada, Czechoslovakia, you name it, you know what I mean? It's Canada, you know. They're just like people of color. They live everywhere. You have black people in France, Germany, England, everywhere. You know, some of American descent, many of African descent, you know. This man attempted to show off a little bullshit startup network on YouTube where he didn't have to. You have a well-recognized name. That's why they came and got you. But your name is bathed in controversy. Controversy over the years from NPR, I'm talking about Marc Lamont Hill, from NPR to many other different outlets that you presided over or were some type of, you know, entity. This BNC network shit is a savior for you. And it's also a demotion as far as your career is concerned. And I expect the same demotion when I come back in, as I'm coming back in, initially anyway, into the business. But like you, I'm using YouTube as my platform to reintroduce myself. What I'm not doing is I'm not using it to berate people. Now, y'all have seen me throw up clips now. I've had the former vice president of Bad Boy Entertainment call me his little brother, give me a nice little shout out. I threw up something with Tabitha Duncan from Cut Close, award-winning, Grammy-winning group. Old school, but still a friend, you know? This was Keith Sweat's group, you know what I'm saying? You might know, more so notably know them by that song, I want you rider, around very nice time. All that shit. I want you to be to me just the way you lie. And who can love me like you? Nobody. Who can treat me like you? Well, them girls, that's Cut Close. And Athena Cage. But Tabitha, that's my girl. That's my homegirl. Love her to death. I'm glad she got so many things going on or whatever. I love her as a friend. You know what I'm saying? Very attractive woman, but I love her as a friend nevertheless. I hope she hear that and know that. And she checked on me. She always checked on me. You all right? You okay? You doing well? You know, always. One time when I was going through my hardships, Tabitha definitely checked on me. Tabitha took care of me too. You know, so shout out to Tabitha Duncan from Cut Close. Continue touring, continue kicking ass, continue working out. She is a powerhouse right now. She has been working out so much. I mean, like when I say powerhouse, I mean real powerhouse. I saw her with a tire. Okay, like a dump truck tire. You know what I mean? Doing workouts. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm missing out. I got to step my workout up now. Shit, I got to get on Tabitha's level. I'm on the lean level, you know. My thing is about leanness, tightness, and calisthenics. Being able to move incredibly fast and very quickly. That's always been my concentration. And it has served me well. I have reflexes like fucking, I don't know. I don't believe myself sometimes. But that's another subject. I just want to give a shout out to her because she is a very good friend. And shout out to comedian Dale Harrison. That's my other homegirl right there. She is on the radio now in New York City. I forgot what the station is. I'm sorry, Dale, but y'all can download the app. I'm gonna make sure I put it up here so y'all can grab that or whatever. Comedian Dale Harrison out of California, but originally I think Detroit. Where are you from, girl? Detroit? No, you ain't from Detroit. That's my other homie, comedian homie. She from Detroit. I forgot where Dale is from, but I think she might be from Baltimore. I think she said she's from Baltimore, which put her in the DMV, and I know the DMV very well. That's DC, Maryland, and Virginia. Marc Lamont Hill attempted to decimate and discredit Judge Joe Brown, discredit the law, discredit his own reputation as a journalist. Apparently, he didn't care because of the pure simple fact he sat there and he decided that he was going to pick that moment to attack the judge on a personal vendetta that he had previously over a tweet. And I say to you, Marc Lamont Hill, not only have you killed your reputation, you've killed your self-esteem. And the fact that y'all titled it, Marc Lamont Hill and Judge Joe Brown get into heated exchange. What kind of bullshit is that? This is what you call ambush journalism. I've seen it a million times. Blacks, Asians, and many alike have adapted the tactics, and they have integrated a philosophy of libertarianism, Marxism, a pinch of communism, and a whole batch of tribalism. And I'm not into that tribalistic form of thinking and collective thinking. We are not a group of motherfucking ants, nor are we a colony. Plain simply. And I do not rely on the queen to be the only one queen to be the representation of the whole entire colony. Well, that is archaic. These women waited 20 to 30 to 40 years to come with their allegations. Judge Joe Brown said at one point in the interview, I believe it was about 15, 14 minutes in, he says that well, these women were doing this voluntarily because this was the style then. Now, this was what it before me and Marc Lamont Hill was born. But Judge Joe Brown would have been in his prime. This is what people socially were engaged in. There's even a terminology called the Roaring Twenties. Have you ever heard of it? During the Roaring Twenties, motherfuckers were sniffing cocaine and all kinds of other shit, smoking joints every fucking way and all kinds of shit. The prohibition of liquor and this motherfucking utilage and the masses came from the mafia and motherfucking later on the Kennedy forefather. This is how they made their money. So when we talk about morality, we have to talk about it from a historical, realistic point of view, in my opinion, not from the opinion of Marc Lamont Hill in this new form, new radicalized, fucking socialist, Marxist form of thinking called everybody counts. Everybody doesn't fucking count. You want us to feel empathy for somebody's stupidity. When that repeated stupidity you kept going back and forth to over and over and over and over and over and over again. That's where the lack of empathy comes into play, because this is a repeated behavior that you continuously went back and forth around. Many of these women, and many people will agree with that. You came there because Bill Cosby was rich. He could help provide you drugs. You admitted in your statement, you said, I wanted him to go get me drugs. That means that you wasn't a newfound member of these drugs. You had probably been doing these drugs. You had continuously doing these drugs. And up until this point, until you made this accusation, you had been doing those drugs and had those drugs in your system. People are not pointing out the accountability that some of these women also attributed by being in this lifestyle. You understand what I'm saying? You cannot have a society where there's only accountability for one gender, but the other gender doesn't. So that means you can hit somebody with a car, kill a family of 4, and you have no accountability. There are actually women that have gone into court cases and actually said, I'm sorry. There was a woman in Florida. We're talking accountability here. There was a woman in Florida who was caught on tape. Many of y'all might have seen this. She was caught on tape in the car planning her husband's death. She was planning to think she was hiring a hitman. In actuality, it was a cop. And up until the time they brought the husband himself, who had been sitting behind the scenes and was listening to the live audio of the interaction of the wife that he had been with for only a couple of months, planning his killing. Okay? This motherfucking, I can say it just like this motherfucking evil, Cruella, Medusa-ass, fucking straight out of the Schmiegel Hobble looking ass bitch, she gonna turn around and say, I wasn't trying to get him, and rolled like that all the way to the motherfucking jail cell. Rolled like that from the jail cell to the courtroom, while I ultimately just saw the clip not too long ago, maybe a couple months ago, where they actually turned around. You want to see some fireworks? Hold on 1 second, I'll show you. Oops. That was dope. If they got some more, I'll turn the camera back around for you guys. That was dope. All right, so when I say this, I'm saying Marc Lamont Hill was trying to piggyback off of these two stars' names. was literally just trying to piggyback. And he was hoping to get some notoriety for it, and it didn't happen. I'm sorry, Marc Lamont Hill, but you ain't shit for attempting. All right? And anybody who wants to live by these morals and standards of we must conform and assimilate to the way that the masses do, I'm sorry, I just don't agree with that. I think at that point it's time to consider maybe moving out of this country, maybe going somewhere that's a little bit more fonder than the rules and the regulations and the shit that they're trying to attempt to set up here. Because to me, it seems like pure, simple Marxism, communism, socialism, libertarianism, and a couple of other fucking factors that I just don't fucking agree with, okay? I don't agree with any of those, and like I've said to you before, socialism, and the most prime example of it is Venezuela just recently. Nowhere that they're trying to implement socialism has it worked. Nowhere. Nowhere in no system that's ever used under socialism, including the USSR, including formerly Italy, many of the different ones, none of them survived. None of them. The USSR was turned back into Russia. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Marc Lamont Hill, fuck you and everybody live in your house, including the dog. Judge Joe Brown, stay your head up. I just want to give my little interpretation of what I thought. I think that this motherfucking Marc Lamont Hill is a joke. I think that BNC network is going to continue, and they will be the forefront of starting to attack more and more men of color, depicting on what they feel was right and what wasn't right. And what I don't like about coward-ass minorities like that, and I think we need to start pointing out these coward-ass minorities more and more and more. And they exist in different facets, whether it be, you know, Bebe or Enrique that's shooting in the hood and hits a little kid, or whether it be just some cocksucker that's in society that just does passive-aggressive or microaggressive tendencies just to fuck with nobody else but his own people. Will not take that same energy and devote it to going against anyone that's white, including if that person is vested in being against them, in the ultimate end. All to facilitate, sometimes to keep trinkets, rags and tatters, bullshit jobs. Do you think you're gonna retire from that job? Do you have any investments, you know? And Marc Lamont Hill is a perfect example of that. Marc Lamont Hill was at NPR. Now you on a bullshit ass network on YouTube. And I think that bullshit YouTube network, I think one of the biggest things that it's going to do, and it's going to circumnavigate people to start thinking a certain fucking way. And that way that they're going to start thinking is not a way that I agree with. It's a way of conformity. And what you do is you get everybody to agree with one fucking set of ideas. And then when you get them to agree with that one set of fucking ideas, what happens is those people start now investing into fucking ideological, fucking delusional thoughts. And this is where you see people primed to ready to do shit at such a whim. Oh my God, a fucking squirrel fell out the tree. Okay, we got to advocate for squirrels now. Let's get a trend going. We're going to advocate for squirrels. And you'll see so many people of color go out there and advocate alongside with them for no fucking reason whatsoever. For no reason whatsoever. And the only reason they'll consider doing it is pure and simply because of the pure simple fact it looks popular. And you see this with more and more advocacies. Shit that doesn't have anything to do with people of color. Shit that doesn't do anything to benefit people of color. But they'll rally behind it because they want to look cool by who? White society. A white society that shows you day to day that you want to be inclusive of, that they don't give a fuck about you. If you don't believe so, go to the courtroom on Monday. Go downtown to the jailhouse in your city right now today. And they're all different ages. They can be from 16 to 17 all the way up to fucking 75. And just like Bill Cosby, at 82 years old, just getting released. And sometimes, many times, for crimes they did not commit. And Marc Lamont Hill attempted today to desecrate a man's legacy based on an accusation that now has been found. Well, there's been some tampering. And this is any man of color. What you're doing is, Marc Lamont Hill, is you're setting up a precedence where you could doubt more of the innocence of men of color to come up. Right here in Hartford, Connecticut, in the state of Connecticut, there were 3 men that were released not too long ago for a crime they didn't commit. They had been sitting there for over 35 years. There was many other ones of like them across the country that were sitting there like that. So when you put effort into demoralizing the man via your new network vehicle. What you do is, Marc Lamont Hill, you set up a precedence for people of color, especially the men, to be targeted more and more and more. So thanks a lot there, boy. You're doing a fine job. Fine job. Now run up there and get Master and tend to the horses. I'll get to you later. And get him a tall beer. I'm out.